basically the position of elements on the periodic table and how that corresponds to their reactivity and their behavior.
So to start, we're going to talk about some common knowledge we should have of the periodic table. So groups are going down, so they're the vertical columns of the periodic table. So all elements in the same group or family have the same number of electrons in their valence shell. So some examples of elements in a group would be fluorine, chlorine, and bromine. Next, we're going to talk about periods. So periods are the horizontal rows on the periodic table, and they increase gradually by 1 electron going left to right. So an example of some elements in a period are lithium, beryllium, and boron.
So going from there, we can introduce electronegativity, and this is basically the atom's ability to hold on to its electrons in its most outer valence shell. And this trend increases from left to right and going from up down to up.
So this brings us to our halogens group, which are very reactive because they're missing an electron in their outermost shell. So they don't fulfill the octet rule, and they're trying to grab their last 8th electron. So an example of this would be fluorine, which is the most electronegative element on Earth.
So then going to noble gases, this is basically an example of a non-reactive elements because they already satisfy the octet rule and they have all of their 8 electrons in their outer valence shell. An example of this is neon. And going from there, we can go into elements in living things. So for example, hydrogen, carbon, phosphorus, oxygen, and nitrogen are very abundant in our bodies, and they're present in our bodies as well. For example, oxygen is one of the most abundant and one of the most electronegative elements on Earth and in our bodies as well, and they are essential for cells to function. Nitrogen is another example. This is also an abundant element in our bodies. It is not very reactive on its own in its pure form, but when it creates compounds, it is. And this is present in our bodies in the form of amino acids. For an example, they help with the synthesis of proteins.
So that's all we have today. Thanks for watching.